Yeah.
Thanks, Oscar. Good evening and welcome to the December 1st meeting of the Litchfield School Board. I will call to the meeting to order and we'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Are there any revisions to tonight's agenda?
There are not.
Great. Summary of non-public actions from November 17th, 2021. Mrs. Harrison made a motion to approve the non-public minutes of November 3rd, November 4th, and November 8th, 2021. Mrs. Hirschberger seconded, and the motion carried 5-0. Tonight we have a presentation about CHS Physical Education and Health Program from Mr. Knight and Ms. Zepan. You can come on up and
It's the sneakers.
It's a PowerPoint?
It's a Google slide.
Google slide. Let me get it pulled up for you. If you want to start in, I'll.
You get to sit next to me, Josh.
Perfect. Not that he wants to.
Front
No,
row
probably
seat.
not.
He's forced to.
Usually do this in advance, but
I
I have
know,
thrown
we
a curveball.
I think it's cute that it's in the school colors.
So the link I have is it's a PDF. So
Do you want me to share you the link?
if you do that, I can actually click and go, or we can just click through them this way, whichever you prefer.
I'll share it right with you.
Google Drive shared with me. School board meeting. I'm assuming that's it,
Correct.
right? We're gonna present, and you can just say next slide or beep or whatever works for you.
All right. So obviously I'm Shannon Zepan. I'm one of the physical education teachers at Campbell High School, and Mr. Knight is with us, and we're just here kind of highlighting what we do in physical education and health. So we're going to start right with physical education. So really, when we sit there and we talk about it, I want to give you kind of an overview what all the physical education teachers do at Campbell High School. We do try to provide daily standard competency-based instruction by following the actual 5 national standards of physical education that's put out by SHAPE. The competencies, when we developed the curriculum, the competencies were derived from SHAPE's national standards, and we offer a wide variety of courses to meet the needs of each individual student. So when we talk about the courses, we have them all listed out. We talk about foundations of PE. This is a required course that all incoming first-year students are required to take. In this course, they really get a baseline of starting to become what we identify as physically literate individuals. So they'll learn about cardiovascular endurance, muscular strength, muscular endurance, flexibility, and in more of a traditional PE type setting where they'll do not independent, but dual to team sports. So some of the things that we cover in Foundations of PE is we do a nitro ball, which is inverted volleyball. So it utilizes the skills of volleyball in a more, I would say not competitive, but more skill-based practice.
Mm-hmm.
And then we also do badminton. We do touch rugby as a variation of an invasion game. And we also work in team building. So by the time that they're able to get through Foundations of Physical Education, they have the baseline to move to whatever direction that they would like to choose. You want to do Fit for Life?
Yeah.
So the Fit for Life with that course, I know a lot of people think of it as the rock climbing course because that is a month that we do it. But my goal with that course is to kind of take the kids out of their comfort level and put them into team sports that they're not used to. So we don't play soccer, we're not playing football, we're not playing basketball. We take that out. So what we'll do with that is an expansion on what she's doing. So as she's playing badminton, we're playing pickleball. As she's playing invasion games, we're playing hockey, street hockey. And then we'll add in a little bit of the rock climbing. We'll add in a little bit of, I don't want to say more or less backyard games, things that they can do as they get older, as they expand. So you can continue playing hockey forever. I mean, you can continue playing basketball and soccer, but a good amount of our kids already do that anyways. So giving them different ideas, getting them different activities. We're going to play volleyball come January. So yes, we have a good group of volleyball girls that are in the school, but in the grand scheme of it, a lot of our boys have no idea what they're doing, hit the ceiling with it. So we work on form and have an idea what they can do so they can expand on that going forward. So that main class outside of the rock climbing, which is a month, and we took the kids up there, and it was a life experience for me because I actually had to go up once and grab all the rings because the kids were going through and they needed someone to clean it up. So that was, I mean, it was a cool experience, but the kids are going up and they're getting out of their comfort level. They're going up 20 feet on top of a foot wide tree and they got to jump 15 feet and grab another tree. They weren't super excited at the beginning, but the second they do it and they try it, they're like, oh, that was so cool. That was exhilarating. So let's get them out of their comfort level. And we do a lot of that stuff in the Fit for Life. The intro to strength training, my main goal was that with that course is to have them have an idea of what am I doing at the gym? I don't want the kids to necessarily go to a gym, go to Planet Fitness and just go down the lines of the machines. I want them to have an idea of how to use the equipment that's there, how to use a lot of the free weights and how to be safe with it. So the main goal of that course is to bring them in. We're going to do a whole bunch of different workouts. And by the end of that, they're going to be able to develop their own workout plan with a pretty basic repetition and sets progression with it. So they have an idea of what they're doing with it. But we're not going to dive into the anatomy and physiology of what's actually going on quite yet. That's when we save that for the sport and functional training classes. Those two classes, I'll start with functional first. Functional class, I approach it more as a physical therapist. If someone's coming in, this is how you're going to work with it. So they not only have to write their own workouts by that point, because this is kind of the level 2 class. So they have to write their own workouts, but they also have to write a workout for the first 4 weeks is you have a 20-year-old who tore their ACL. They're coming back after rehab. What are you going to kind of give them? So they got to do a little research on that, figure out what am I going to do? I'm not going to throw them straight into a squat rack. We have to approach this safely. And then after they do that, all right, now you have a 90-year-old who's looking to lose 15 pounds so they can walk down the street and get their mail. So it's a completely different idea. You can't do the same thing with the two people. And that's where we talk about the functional side of things. Then the sports-specific side of things, it's a similar approach, but we're not doing power cleans with the 90-year-old that's looking to go get their mail without their walker, or we are going to do power cleans with, they could pick an athlete. So if you're going to do the first 4 weeks with Tom Brady, you can do it with Tom Brady, but you're also doing your own workouts. Then the next 4 weeks, you have to pick someone completely different. So Michael Phelps, Tom Brady and Michael Phelps are not going to have the same thing. So the functional course is more or less a personal or a physical therapist, where the sports training, you're more of a sport personal trainer. So kind of approach it from two different sides. So they really get the idea of what it means to go to the gym, what it means to help someone out. So that way they're not just sitting at a bench press for 15 minutes and then leaving the gym. So they really get something out of it. So that's really the progression of those 3 strength classes.
So then the other 3 offshoots that we have off of foundations that students can choose, they can choose the exercise walking class. And that's exercise walking. So some people just kind of go, oh, we're just going to go out for a walk, which they don't really realize that we are managing heart rates in there. We're increasing their time. They're increasing their distance that we're out. We're talking about the benefits of interval training and being able to infuse that with getting them to associate that as I push harder, my heart rate goes up and then I can recover. My heart rate comes back down, which will all work with their speed of their walking and their time. So it's always my goal with the walking class is that by the end of the semester, we are walking 4 miles in the 90-minute block, which today was a victory because we hit that 4-mile mark ahead of schedule. So I'll try for 5.
Yeah.
It was
You
actually
walk
warm
fast.
today.
The heart rate going.
So, and then we do offer a men's self-defense class. This is fairly new that has come in. This is a little bit different than the women's self-defense class, where we're really going to focus on de-escalating a situation, having young gentlemen be able to recognize there's a situation coming up. I'm getting a little bit agitated. How do I calm myself down and remove myself from the situation before physical violence could occur? They also will learn basic self-defense techniques in case of a situation that would arise. Then we have the women's self-defense class that has been going on for quite a few years. And again, this is more about really protecting and the whole self-defense. How do I get out of a situation? How do I avoid a situation by using risk reduction strategies? And they do learn basic strikes, hand strikes, kicking strikes, blocking patterns, techniques, and sets that are all based off of position. So depending on if somebody grabbed me and my left foot was forward, I have 3 different options that I can get out of that situation and run and go get help. So it's a lot of communication and talking about self-defense in the law and being able to get out of a situation quickly and in a positive manner on that. So really, as we continue to grow the physical education, our goals are really to continue to utilize the standards-based curriculum and really utilize the standards from SHAPE, which is our national organization. And then we're going to continue to develop physically literate students by the time they graduate. And then when we'll talk about health, health is one of those required courses that all sophomores take at Campbell High School. Really, we provide daily standard-based, competency skill-based instruction. We follow the national standards for health education. Our competencies were derived from the national standards again. And we cover a variety of content that really focuses on students using good goal setting, practicing decision-making, critical thinking, and refusal skills to help them become health literate, which by our hopes is that by the time that they graduate and get through the health course, they're able to access valid health information. And they are able to use their refusal skills and know that no is no, and how do I communicate that? So really, as we continue with health, it's still our goals will be to continue to utilize a skill standard-based instruction. Health education is going in a shift right now to more skills-based, where the focus is going to be the content, but getting them to really practice decision-making with tough scenarios and refusal skills. So it becomes kind of second nature in their interpersonal communication skills and their ability to access valid information regarding health material. And then continue to have students utilize critical thinking to help increase health literacy and self-advocacy as they get older.
Fantastic.
So really,
Classes.
those are all of the classes and what we try to accomplish as they move through physical education and health.
Are they held all the time or every year, all of those, or are they on a rotation?
There I am.
Some of them,
Which ones, the health or the PE ones?
The PE, sounds like health is sophomore.
Yeah.
health is sophomore, foundations is every year, walking is every year. The women's self-defense has been every year. So, and then the men's self-defense, I know because COVID and stuff, it didn't run last year. And then numbers, I think, play a part in that. I know all the strength trainings do run every year.
Intros are both semesters, and the sports and functional are one of the semesters. And then Fit for Life is every
Every
both
year.
semesters.
It's dependent on whether they run both semesters or if they just run one semester or
Yep.
the other.
Interesting. Any other questions from the board?
But I was just thinking of something. So on the women's self-defense, after the course is taught, so you teach freshmen this course also?
This course is sophomores through seniors.
Okay. So if I take it as a sophomore, and if I come in contact with you, like in different courses, do you like give reminders of it seems like it's important, but do they remember everything as a sophomore, all of a sudden come senior? Like, do you ever quiz them, just even for fun? Like, what are you supposed to do in like this case kind of thing?
If the student has come through to me, sometimes I will ask them, and they're like,
Them on their toes.
Yeah.
and
I think it's
Yes.
important.
Have you met her?
and sometimes, and like if I'm walking through the hallway, you can tell they're like, what's going to happen? I'm like, relax here. So it's a lot. So I do sometimes. Sometimes they will come and say, I remember you showing me this, but I forgot the steps. Can you re-show it to me? And that's where the self-defense class used to be called RAD.
Mhm.
And then I went through a complete different training to make sure to increase their skills so that it could be based on position. So if my left foot's forward, I know what to do. My right foot's forward. I have 3 different options on both ends on how to get out. And if I'm caught in a neutral position. So they get all of that. I do think that their favorite part is actually when they get to practice and it's on me. So
Actual pads, like
Yeah.
it's happening.
It's great. Thank you for that overview.
Yes.
That was
Yeah,
awesome.
that was really,
Thank you.
really helpful and informative. I think that's the first time I've ever heard about the 3 different strength training
Right.
courses and what the focus is. And I
Yeah.
think that is so helpful. So thank you.
Yeah,
And you answered my question about I was going to have about the rock wall as to whether or not anyone would climb that thing because I've never seen anyone climb
we
it.
had. I think one of the days was raining out, so we couldn't go.
Yeah.
You can't have kids climbing trees when it's raining. We had
Why not?
5, 6 different ropes down, and at that point, the kids know how to belay each other. So they have a team, and they're kind of rotating through. So the kids going up, and as you progress left to right, looking at the rock, it gets more difficult. And next time you're in the gym, you can see even the rocks.
Yeah.
By the time you get all the way on the right, I mean, you got to figure out how to just use your fingers and kind of climb up on the wall sideways. So they kind of work their way up, and then you got to go upside down for a little bit. But yeah, I would say it's used for 2 months of the year. They tie everything back up so kids don't
Nice.
free
Still
climb.
use your solo cups? The red solo cups?
Stacking cups.
we do
Do we
have
have
the
it?
stack.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yes.
for health education.
Yes.
Sometimes, yes.
She uses a lot of visuals that some kids.
Oh,
I've sat in many of your classes, and they talk about all different types of drugs, and I'm really impressed because so many kids having a senior are going into OT and all that. I can't
Yeah.
believe how many kids, and the fact that they could get a little taste of it here, it's awesome.
Yeah, and it's fun. And they have questions. And
Mhm.
my number one thing is safety. Because you see these kids and they see the professional lifters, like, I just want to go bench press and squat. Well, when you squat and you're looking down on the ground, we have a whole issue right there. And you're not going to be squatting past 15 if you keep doing that anyways.
Mhm.
So once they figure that out, then they kind of, like right now with our intro course, they kind of have free will of what they actually want to do. Like, you have to write these progressions, but if you don't really want to do heavy weights and you want to work on endurance, then we can adjust it. So they kind of have that free from.
I know when Michael broke his leg, he made his own program for Michael, for him to give himself his own PT.
Yeah. you do your own
So
thing.
Michael wrote his own
Great.
PT plan.
I think
Exactly.
that's a great
Then they have an
focus.
idea. So they
Saving you money.
yeah, right?
Kid will never see me.
Right.
Just before we let our athletic director go, Mr. Knight, could you just update everybody? We're going to do COVID updates later, but we're about to enter winter sports.
Yeah.
So where are we? What are you projecting going forward? What agreements do we have with other
Yeah.
schools? Just so everybody's
So I was up in Plymouth all day for a meeting. And basically the way it's going to look is same thing it's been looking like since, well, I guess not March, but since last fall, is each school is approaching it differently and how you're going to approach it. We're approaching it the same way we approach the fall. And fans, I mean, I don't want to say normal, but quote unquote normal until we hit a certain level in the high school, and then we got to play basketball mask on. I hope we don't reach the point where we have to limit fans, but people in stands with masks, whatnot. But right now we are quote unquote normal, but there will be, we're here. There's other schools where I want to say Hanover right now is you got to have, they're where we were last winter. So 2 fans have to have masks. Only 2 people get to go to the games. And if we're hosting, I mean, we won't for basketball, but if we do host Hanover, then our teams are playing in masks. So we're abiding by the stricter rules, just like we've been doing for the past couple seasons. So we'll
if you
follow.
play,
Oh,
if
I
you play a
didn't
team that
realize
has
that.
stricter rules, you'll play by their rules.
We're going to play by their rules,
sure.
unless
I know it was the home team.
Yeah.
there are some schools that, I mean, you just use Hanover, for example. There are some schools that Hanover will be like, hey, this is what we're doing. You guys don't have to abide by it, but this is what we're doing. And then there's some schools that are saying we will only play the schools if they abide by our rules.
Sure.
So instead of just saying, well, we're not going to play you guys because you're wearing masks, we'll just play in masks.
Mhm.
Just to have, I mean, we're not going to lose games because
Yeah.
of something like that. It's not worth it.
Courtesy and good sportsmanship.
Exactly.
Perfect. Great.
So
Thank you
hopefully
both
we
so
can stay
much.
like that.
Thank you.
Thank you guys.
Thank you.
Right.
Awesome.
Thanks, appreciate it.
guys.
So that
You too.
brings us to community input. I see you're in the Google Meet. Nobody has joined to.
So let me
Oh.
join and make sure there's nobody
Oh,
in there.
okay.
And there is nobody in there.
All right. Thank you. And I don't see anybody here. We have your report coming up if you're ready for it. All right. So I don't see any other community input. So you may close that and we'll have a report from our students.
So we just have something really quick. It was the Make a Difference campaign we did. I think it was November 15th to the 23rd. So the last Tuesday before we went on break for Thanksgiving, we all collected cans from all of the schools, and the student council members went to this food pantry in Litchfield, and we just brought all the cans in, counted them, took pictures and that type of stuff. So we just wanted to present the totals for that. So I don't know if you want to.
So CHS had 2,248 items. For LMS, we haven't received a total yet. I think it's finishing up on Friday, their drive. And then for GMS, they had 803 items.
And there's a competition between the three schools. So as of right now, we haven't heard anything from LMS, but it's Campbell who won. So LMS had a late start on it because of their new student council advisor, and he wasn't 100% sure about it. So they extended it. So it was last week and this week. So at the end of this week, we'll get the numbers, and then we'll see who won in total. But for right now, it's looking like it's Campbell. So
Lucky.
A lot of items.
Great
no,
job.
you should have seen
Yeah.
Mr. McDonough's room. It was crazy.
You know if the schools always do it on the same week?
They normally do. This week, I think there was a miscommunication with LMS. So they extended theirs.
No, I mean, every year. Is it the same time?
Oh, every year?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's the same time every year. It's always a week before
'Cause
Thanksgiving.
I was thinking when it came out that you were doing the drive, it happened to be the same time the Boy Scouts were doing it.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was just,
Yeah, I think November is usually a very busy month for food
Yeah.
drives. I know my
No.
school's
but
done
come
that too.
Christmas time, it's also a big need. So I'm just wondering
Yeah.
if maybe you look at it next year, whoever's going to do it next year, maybe let the Boy Scouts do November.
Yeah.
You can talk to the food pantry. I
Yeah.
mean, I don't know where the need is, but I would think that, come prior to Christmas, it's just as much of a need.
And then January when, the
Yeah,
giving
January
spirit is a
when-
little
yeah.
less.
That's
yeah.
true too.
It's like I put out, several bags for the Boy Scouts. The next thing I know, my kids are hitting me
That's
up for
exactly
we need
what
canned
happened to
goods.
me. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, that's happened to me too. So yeah, we'll probably tell Mr. McDonough and student council, and we'll figure it out.
Yeah.
But that is a good idea. So I'll let them know about that.
Even
Great job.
Easter, that spring
Yeah.
season.
Yeah.
like,
Yeah,
you still
everybody
have
forgets
to-
about it. That is
Yeah.
true. I
Yeah.
never thought of that.
But again, talk to the food pantry. They'll tell you where the
Right.
need is. Maybe it is Thanksgiving time, but or maybe it's Thanksgiving and Christmas, or they get enough on Thanksgiving that they can go to Christmas. I don't know.
Right.
Just-
Yeah.
I mean,
Thank you for doing it and running
Yeah.
it. And that's
Great
great
work.
news.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
so this is a couple years in a row now that Campbell's won. It used
Yeah.
to always be
Yeah.
GMS.
Mhm.
Well, we brought it up with LMS. They said that the reason why we won is because all the kids have cars, so
Oh.
we have an advantage.
Did you guys
So-
exclude ramen? Ramen
No.
was excluded from ours because you can buy a 20-pack of ramen for $1.48, and you take one, counts as one meal.
Oh.
We had a lot of ramen.
We excluded, We excluded it from our food drive at my school. That's funny.
No, we didn't do
Goes
that.
A long way for your
Yeah.
dollar.
Or the K cups, we counted those as one too.
K-cups?
Yeah, because they were all coffee. It was little.
That's not a meal.
Yeah.
I would fight that.
That's funny.
That's great.
All right,
Well,
thank
good
you.
job.
Thanks,
Thank
girls.
you. All right, with that, we'll close community input and move on to correspondence.
As many correspondence as there were people trying to get on a Google Meet.
Zero.
Yeah, it was a quiet week.
Yes.
All right, that brings us to superintendent comments.
So really one thing to follow up with the board. So I hope you clicked the link and saw that the ESSER 3 agreement. So we had a little miscommunication in the office because we got the GEPA and we had the GEPA approved by the board. If you remember, that's the document that Tina has to sign each page and I have to countersign and so forth. So we thought the general educational programmatic assurances covered everything. And then we upload our ESSER 3 grant and we're like, well, where's the ESSER 3 GEPA? And what do you mean? And sure enough, there was a separate document that we had overlooked. So that is included for the board. If you look at it, it's the same kind of things for the most part. However, there are several clauses in there where it specifically references ESSER 3. And you'll also notice the affidavit that I'm signing at the end is that I have reviewed this GEPA with the board. And I said to Mary, I am not signing it until I review it with the board because that's what I am attesting to. And so I don't think there's any surprises in there. I think it's the same sort of things that we're expected to adhere to. However, it does specifically state for the ESSER 3 grant. And so before signing it, I wanted the board to have an opportunity to review it. And if you have questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Yeah, it looked pretty boilerplate for me. Any questions about the assurances? Okay.
I will get those signed and submitted tomorrow into the grants management. Thank you.
School board comments? Any school board comments?
Just one other quick thing. So I brought the postcard. So I hope all board members got the postcard and I hope all members of the public got the postcard. So, you know, we really want to make sure that people know that we have this reimagining session next Tuesday night. It's at 6:30 at Griffin. And at this session, we're going to be explaining basically what the 5 options are that we've identified and the pros and cons of each of those options and seeking community input on those options. So again, anybody who would like to turn out, we invite you to participate in this. So this is all part of our process. The session after that is on Tuesday, January 18th. And I don't know exactly what the agenda will be. It will depend on what we learn at this session and some other information that we receive in the meantime. So, but please come. And did everybody get the card?
Yes.
Okay, I wanted to make sure it didn't get lost in Black Friday flyers. So I'm glad
It
that
was
you
bigger
saw
than
it.
I thought it was going
That's
to be.
all
Again, I
online.
know they went out and I also know that a lot of people just get stuff like that and just throw it away. And obviously it's gone into some hands because some people are already talking about it. I'm just curious if someone's reached out to like Jason Brennan to ask him to put a plug in when they do their weekly news, just as another added.
Yeah, I have commented on those posts, but
It'd be nice though if he has, can hold up a postcard and say, yep, here's
Yeah.
what's going on.
yeah.
If you can do that this week for.
I can reach out to him. I think I have his email. You want it?
Yeah, I can message him.
Okay, perfect.
Do you want to tell them about the website?
Oh, and just, I also think I sent the board the link to the new website. So we livened that up and Michelle and I optimized it for phones. So you
Good.
should find it to be friendly to access from your phone. It's nice to know that that feature is there and we are utilizing that.
I'll
So
post it on Facebook tomorrow. I did the meeting post
Oh, great.
last night. So
Great.
and hopefully people will check it out. I mean, there's a
Yeah.
lot of information there, but that's going to be the place to find out about the project. We're going to store everything there.
Someone had posted they were looking for the survey. That's not been posted on the website yet,
We
right?
don't have a survey yet,
Okay.
so we're not quite ready to survey. There is a survey, I think, that's tied to the first session. But I'm not sure that we have it to link, so we'll get that.
Okay, perfect. It's
Well, maybe
Great news
part of
moving
that
forward.
presentation, that November 2nd presentation, because I think she went over it. And it was included in that. But
okay.
we could get it.
Well, thank you. Thanks for putting that together. Public minutes from November 17th, 2021. Has everybody had a chance to review them?
I make a motion to accept the minutes from November 17, 2021.
Right,
Yes.
you
I'll
can
second.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? 500. And that brings us to Mr. Lonergan with the CHS Principals Report.
Good evening, everyone.
Hello.
Evening.
So, number of things I want to sort of give you a broad overview on. If you looked at the agenda, the PSAT scores were supposed to have been in, and we were expecting them in soon. They actually are in already. Over the next few days, Val up in counseling. I'm not sure it's going to happen because we're short a staff member up there, but they'll be providing the students with the paper copies of their scores. Just from a broad overview, we had 91 out of 95 of our freshmen take the PSAT 8-9. And then I don't have the raw numbers in terms of 10th and 11th grade individually, but we had 217 out of 233 students who took the PSAT, which is 93% for those and 96% for the freshmen. Interesting to look at the numbers. Our freshmen really performed quite well on the 8-9. So the main scores were back to what our current junior class did when they were freshmen, which is a pretty significant score.
Considering what they've been through.
Yeah, absolutely. And then the other thing you look for progress over time. And so our freshman scores, we have nothing to compare that to from prior years, but with our current sophomores, saw a significant trend upward in terms of their scores, which is it's an optimistic piece to look at. And if you look at the juniors, the same thing. Again, our students, struggle a little bit at first, but they seem to move forward and do better. Our assessment and data team today actually met to look at both the mean scores and kind of analyze those, but then to look at student specific scores and then to say, okay, what do we want to do with this data? And so when you do that, you actually look at your struggling students, the students that make the benchmarks, the students that don't make the benchmarks. And so one, we're going to provide information to the leadership team for next Thursday for that meeting so that they can have a sense of, okay, who are the kids who are really struggling? And then within their department say, okay, mathematics, we need to look at these kids and see if we can figure out ways to help them improve. And the same thing with English. As we move forward, the other piece of this is when the data team meets next is to look at the specific questions on the PSAT, because you have social studies questions, you have science questions, you have your math questions, you have your English, and then look at, okay, where are the struggles occurring and the types of questions that the kids are having difficulty with, and then so we can target some of our instruction to that. So we're just in the beginning stages of digging into that. But if you have students who are in 9th, 10th, or 11th grade, they should be bringing home a paper copy of that. And Val is also going to connect the kids into the website so they can see an explanation of those scores and what they mean. So it's encouraging to look at it initially. We'll see what it looks like when we start digging into sort of where the gaps are in some of those other subject-specific areas. I included in my report this month a link to the Youth Risk Behavior Survey. That's the 2019 version, and I did that just so you could have a sense of what are the types of questions. And if you had a chance to look at it, you'll really see that there's questions about alcohol use, drug use, marijuana use, cigarettes, vaping, about violence, yeah, absolutely, about sexual. We had.
I said vegetables.
Oh, I thought you said sexual. Okay.
I was surprised. I'm like, how many vegetables do you have a day?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. Well, but
It is a risk.
that alludes a little bit to Shannon, what she was talking about in terms of the health question and things. We actually used the YRBS to look at administratively what are the things we need to target. Course-wise, subject-wise, what do we need to target? So a number of years ago, one of the things that came out in the survey and kind of was shocking to me is that Litchfield kids don't wear bike helmets. Okay, it was amazing the number of kids that I don't wear a helmet when I ride my bicycle. So, as part of the health programming, the PE programming, we asked Shannon, hey, make reference to this, make sure you pay attention to that.
Yeah.
When vaping was becoming the big problem, we saw within our school, not just out there, but at Campbell, we saw, okay, we need to make sure that we're addressing this with our students. So it allows us to do the curriculum things. It allows us administratively to think about some of the things we want to do with kids. And the other piece is our students against destructive decisions. Okay, we share the information with them. So, okay, here are some of the things that you guys can talk about. We talk about prom season, talk about alcohol and drugs and all of those other things and appropriate relationships between boys and girls. So they use that in terms of their programming too. So if you had a chance to look at it, it really is, yeah.
Yeah, I was glad you shared the link. I was
Sure.
curious.
And there's also hesitation when you look at the numbers. Only 68.5% of our kids actually took it. So there was a real hesitance, which is okay. I still think we get a representative group of students. Yeah. Yep. So COVID, I wanted to just talk very briefly. We've been in really good shape all along. Mike keeps telling me to knock on wood. I'm not sure there's wood in here, but I'm going to knock on wood in here. But we're starting to see an increase in some of the numbers. And one of the concerns we have, and I haven't spoken with Donna today about this, but we had 2 students in one class sitting near each other who came up positive, and then a girlfriend of one of those students who came up positive as well. And under state definitions, that's considered a cluster. So first cluster we've had, we don't know that they were connected, but it's fairly clear that they probably connected to each other. But we're seeing some increases in our numbers. Again, not so much amongst our staff. Over the course of the whole year, I think we've had 5 staff members who have been positive for COVID, 2 of them recently. So that's certainly concerning to me. If you look at the chart, you'll see that today we had, I believe I filled it out, 13 staff members out, but only 2 of them were sick. Conferences, negotiations, and other pieces of that. So that's one of those pieces. We managed the subs. It wasn't easy, okay, but that was sort of a piece of what's going on. But the kids, with the mask being voluntary, you see probably 8 to 10% of the students wearing masks. And I wear mine all the time. Partly, I'm concerned about health, but partly I think it's good for the kids to see that as well. So I like the fact that we're going back to more normal operations, and I think it's important. You see that with our students who are taking field trips, who Salem Witch Museum. We have student council going on their leadership trips. FBLA. We have 4 students who are going to another FBLA workshop next week, and I think it's just great that between those co-curriculars and then a normalization of athletics, I think it's just really good for our kids to have those opportunities. So it's nice that we can continue that. And then the final thing I just wanted to mention was our PTO organizations who are awesome in this town. And between the PTO, the boosters, and the Friends of Performing Arts, all of them are doing the fundraising and the supporting of the kids. And to me, that's another nice sign of a back to more normal school year. So I'm not sure that I have a whole lot else here, but I did one other thing. I want to say thank you to you guys. I think it's pretty amazing when you go into Sean McDonough's room and look at what they collect. The room is just loaded with cans and box goods and all sorts of other things. And I think that speaks to, one, the students' energy about this, but it's also what Litchfield is like as a community. Some great stuff going on.
Great. Thank you. Any questions for Bill?
No, just want to say one more thing about the food drop. I don't know if anything was done differently this year, but it's the first year that my senior said I need some canned goods. I go, really?
Really?
Yeah. But I guess they were having a contest between classes. So
There's a pizza party. We want a pizza party.
The new advisory.
yeah, so they're divvying them up between her and Jack to decide who's getting what.
Oh, wow.
So who won? Do
I-
we know who won yet? We cannot reveal it.
Oh, they do.
We haven't announced yet, so.
Okay. No, and you're not going to announce it.
Because LMS still has a chance, right?
They said, whatever you did, it's just fantastic anyway that we collected that much.
I'll pass that along to Sean for sure, and you guys will pass it along to your friends. Absolutely. Yeah.
Great.
That's That's the one thing I've known since I came here is this is a really generous community, you know? And Sean does a lot with his student council to spur that on, but it happens at the other two schools as well. And I think it just reflects on what this town is about.
Great. Thank you, Bill.
You're
Anything else? Mr.
Overview.
Morgan? All right. Thank
Oh,
Review?
yes.
Yes.
Yep. Sure.
Hunger Games.
Yep. So the English department would like a vote approving their adding the Hunger Games to their curriculum. So the freshman course is about community versus the individual. This is a really appropriate text for that theme, and I mean there are a variety of different resources that teachers can use, but the one thing that they want to make sure they're doing is getting more engaging materials for the kids who are within a classroom. And if you're familiar with it, it's about a dystopian society. There's no question about that. It's about collaboration. It's about sharing. It's about your individually making your way in the world. And the idea here is that any student in a course can access this material without a whole lot of difficulty. So
Is this replacing Piggy? What's in the conch shell? What's the name of that book? Why can't I think of it?
the
Lord of the
boys.
Flies?
Lord of the
Lord of
Flies.
the
Is it?
Flies.
Because that
No.
it's not replacing that.
Not replacing.
That's
it.
8th grade.
There you
Oh, it
go.
was 9th grade at one point.
Oh, it was junior year for my
Piggy.
students. Yeah,
Conch
yeah,
shell.
it's not replacing that yet.
I think all the kids can relate to that
To-
as long as they bring it to the next level.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'll make a motion to approve the Hunger Games as for the curriculum.
I'll second.
What did the perks say about it?
It went through PERC
It did go
and
through
PERC
PERC.
recommended it along with some other books. Mary's going to bring all the rest of the PERC recommendations to the next meeting when she comes.
Because some of them were already
This one they
approved.
want to get ordered and get
Correct.
started on,
Yep.
so that's why.
It just says they vetted it, but didn't say.
I wasn't at that PERC meeting. Mike Perez usually goes to that. I haven't had a chance to speak with them, but if it was
This is in this is the freshman English class?
Yes.
freshman,
Yeah.
yep,
Okay.
community and the individual was the
Yeah.
theme.
Yep. Okay. All right. All in favor of approving Hunger Games?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? All right. 500. You may order the books.
Excellent, very good.
Thanks.
Pass that on.
Great.
All set?
Yeah. Thank you for coming.
Excellent, very good.
you.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Emma and Emily.
Thank
You too. Take care.
Thank you.
EA report.
So we've provided the draft warrant for FY23 just for keep it on the radar. We're zeroing in on the numbers as we work with the budget committee, and do anticipate having some designs, pricing sets ready to go within, I think Joe was saying within the next week or so. I think bids were due into the construction manager. So we'll start to see some numbers for that for the municipal lease portion. Waiting on numbers in terms of the LEA, the CBA, and also waiting for quotes from Suzanne and Kyle in terms of what the architectural costs and fees are going to be for full design set for the new elementary school. So we're working on that. I provided a summary of the default budget where it stands right now, but I also underneath it on the link, I put default items for discussion, things to consider. These are items that have taken place since my initial draft of the default budget that I just wanted to illustrate what it would look like if we applied some of the changes that have happened in the operating budget to the default budget, just for board consideration and what direction that you would like me to go with it. We still have time in terms of default budget, so we'll review these items. We can bring it back for the next meeting with my board report, and we can discuss it then and make a final vote. Or I think we even still have more time than that to do a final vote on default. So, what's the deadline on default, Michelle? Do you remember?
Excuse me. Very
Is it by
sorry.
posting of the warrant, or
when you post a warrant and the operating budget, the default has to be posted.
Okay, so,
So it's usually about, I think it's the last week of January.
okay.
So the default's only $300,000 more than the budget.
Yes, currently.
That's gonna be more than that.
And there were a lot of, because we've done a lot of work through use of fund balance at year end, there's not a lot of one-time projects still in the operating budget to remove. A lot of it's just contractual increases and such.
Okay. That makes sense.
Okay, so warrants and budgets have to be posted to the general public before the last Monday in January.
Okay.
Okay. Do we want to decide on this now? Do you want to have a discussion about it now?
What I would encourage you to think about is that the budget committee is going to start voting tomorrow night.
Yeah.
So really, even though we have a proposed budget at this point, it hasn't been approved by the budget committee yet. So, this just gives you a general sense of where we are, but even a comparison is not totally accurate because we don't know where that's going to land. So I think just to get a sense of, okay, these are the kinds of decisions we're going to have to make. Let's wait and see.
Yeah.
I would advise the budget committee to do their work, and then we'll have a better handle on how to let it go.
Oops. All right. Thank you, Corey.
Any other one additional retirement that came in after the default was initially calculated? Is that why this is being added in?
Yes. Yep.
Oh,
It was by the deadline.
by the deadline,
It
but
was
just
by the
after.
deadline, but I had already drafted.
Okay, got it.
So I
All
haven't
right.
acted on any of those.
All right, I see. Okay. Reduction actual insurance rate.
Any other
Oh,
questions?
because you planned it at 10% and it came in at like 8.5. Okay.
And I've
got
made
it.
that
So
adjustment.
again, that's just the timing
Yep.
thing.
And I made that
Got it.
adjustment in the operating budget itself,
Yep.
but I did not apply it to the default at this time.
Let's see. Seems like we would encounter that every year. What do you do every year for that one?
Usually it comes in lower than we
Usually it comes in much lower.
much
than
lower.
that.
Yeah. So we always estimate 10 and then
Oh, we always take it out.
We go based on what school care thinks. They'll
Yeah.
give us like, I think 10 is going to be your guaranteed maximum rate. And they kind of gave us, they said the budget with 10 to be conservative. They expected it to come in between 5.5 and 7. And then it came in at 8.6.
Yeah.
So
But for
We aim
typically
high
what we
and
do
then
in the
bring it
past
back.
is we add in any additional requirements and we reduce the insurance to whatever the rate actually comes. So those, okay, got it. So the big question is the 4 positions.
And what's the question? If we take it out of the default?
yeah, this is the sheet basically illustrates, like I have the draft default where it currently stands on top. And then what applying those changes, what it would bring the default to. And then you would have a default that would actually be about $6,000 less than operating. I do agree with Mike's recommendation, kind of a little bit of a wait and see approach to see how the budget committee is going to manage the operating budget.
okay. Anything else on the default?
Do we have an itemized list of what went into the default?
This is just my summary on it. I go line by line in each of the thing, and this is where I accumulate. I list what the changes are, and it's contractual increases in software and changes in salaries and benefits. That's really the main things that have impacted it.
We're not making a decision about this tonight. We're waiting. Okay.
We have some time.
Yeah, we have, like Mike said, budget committee meets tomorrow and we'll begin
Oh, I got that. one.
considering
Now
any
this one.
changes. All good? Okay. Committee reports. Budget committee, I'll just start at the top again. Budget committee met last week. Dr. Jetty and Corey presented the budget. There was a lot of really good discussion, I felt. both with your presentation, there was a lot of kind of question and answer about the GMS project, the LMS project, where we're going with that. Questions were answered, and I think overall it was pretty well received. So tomorrow night we'll begin the deliberation and the consideration of any changes at 7 p.m. tomorrow night, and then we'll know where we are
Mhm.
And then is there another meeting after that or?
if
or two to-
necessary.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
so.
Yeah,
There are a
maybe
couple
just-
more on the agenda, but
Oh, okay.
yeah, we moved pretty quickly. We got, instead of having 2 nights,
Yeah, it seems like it was more efficient.
it was a
this
lot more
year.
efficient. Yeah, and I think too we presented them with a pretty lean budget, so there wasn't a lot of questions about why is this so much more this year than it has been. But,
I think we hit a better groove this year. I mean, the budget
Yeah.
committee all had paper copies of the budget in advance. So, on November 2nd, they had paper copies to look at. When they attended your first meeting on the 4th, they were able to interact with the document they had seen in advance. So the little tweaks that we're making along the way are just kind of streamlining things. There's a Google Doc of questions from last time we've already answered. They have access to that. So yes, we'll go through it tomorrow night, but the answers are there tonight for the most part. There are
Yeah.
a few that need to be
it was
answered
interesting
tomorrow.
because it was livened up, and we were having administrators answer questions on that doc during the meeting while we're sitting with the budget committee. So we were able to answer the questions immediately.
Much better efficiency and
Yeah,
much
sure,
better use
yeah.
of everybody's time. So I hope it works equally as well for the budget committee, but I feel good about kind of where
Yeah.
we're hitting.
Facilities improvement. Did we haven't met?
No, but just we continue to have Monday meetings with between the project at the middle school, which the pricing is coming in for. That's out to bid with the contractors now, and then the GMS project exploring the 5 options. So
And that's really,
it's not that we haven't met. I can promise you that we've met a lot.
and really, I mean, that's what a lot of the GMS review has been, going through the 5 different possibilities, and then also, getting ready for the next meeting, any, additional information that's needed there, and you did receive one report that I haven't seen yet, the water testing on the upper level.
Yeah.
I know that was brought up.
So on
Yeah.
what day was it? Veterans Day.
I know we discussed it.
Yep.
I know we discussed it in one of our meetings, but
Veterans Day, the engineers who did the study on the site 20 years ago, Novus, same company, came back to sort of update the numbers and to examine the site again, and gave us a report. And actually, the report is not positive toward that site. We know there are water issues on the lower part of the lot, but there are more water issues up on the hill than anybody realized. And so that was really kind of eye-opening to read the report and read the limitations. The other thing, everybody has to remember that in 20 years' time, regulations have changed. So, the idea of putting in a second septic field, what will it take in order to have 2 septic fields near each other? Really dealing with waste disposal of, what are we going to be talking about, 1,000 people? And you're getting into all sorts of nitrate easements and other things that you have to do. So, as much as I think there are folks who feel like that site is a location for a school because the district had proposed it years ago, there are a ton of cons that go along with that. And we just have to know that going in. So, but thank God we had that updated report. It's very thorough, it's 10 pages, it details stuff, and it talks specifically about the limitations that are in place. So, it's an option, but it comes with other things that need to be done, and other things will cost money.
So that'll all be boiled down and presented at the community forum.
Next Tuesday, they'll get
Yeah.
much more in depth over the 5 options that are on the table. But that report was, I'm glad we did the update to it because, our tendency was to say, well, we have that study, but the study's 20 years old. And so now that we have the updated version, it's like things have changed.
All right. How about emergency management?
we meet this Friday, and I had left before I gave the recap from the previous one. I don't know if someone else did when I was gone.
Corey kind of filled us in a little bit, I think.
I wasn't at the last one.
think I might want to.
Maybe Mike. Somebody.
Because I know at that one, we talked about the cost of walkie-talkies.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Was police there also when we showed them the report of how it was going to work? Was that the previous one? One of my notes with
No,
me. so-
police were there at the last meeting.
And we showed them as far as the form.
The form is the schools now, when they conduct any kind of drill, they do it on a Google form. So there's one central clearinghouse where all that information goes, and it's shared with police and fire, so they can see what we've done and what the results were. So the Google form, I mean, we literally still had NCR paper forms that we filled out. We've stopped that and we've gone to
Duplicate. Yeah, and all three schools were doing it differently. Now it's all like just one main house. It's like,
Good.
you can get it in a second.
Can I ask a question while we're in this? Obviously, with the news of yesterday's high school shooting, have we started Alice drills again yet with our high school this year?
We have not begun the Alice drills, although that's on the agenda for this Friday.
I
And
do have the Alice training portal set up. They did change it, so I'm gonna reach out to our rep at Alice so I can figure out can't quite figure out how to get them sent out, but I'm gonna have them sent out with a note to all staff just to wait on word from their administrators
To
as
be
to when they're going to be
recertified?
able to do it. Yeah, it's the recertification.
Yeah.
It also, this site has a lot of things that it's a lot more comprehensive than just the basic Alice training. There's suicide prevention and awareness trainings on it. There's they break the certifications for Alice out by administrator, bus driver, kitchen staff. They have really different like specialized trainings. So it'll be a great resource. So I'm going to reach out tomorrow to get that set up so I can get it sent out.
Again, I think it's appropriate to do it the best way for the students, and I trust the administration to do that. But from what I've read so far, a lot of those techniques were used by students as defense techniques with the metal door stops and with barricades and whatnot. And so I just, to the extent that our students, I don't think have done one since pre-COVID. It
Did
wouldn't
they
be
use the Alice protocols or just the similar kind of?
the school in Oxford, I think it's Oxford, Michigan, right?
Michigan. Yeah.
So if you listen, the principal actually came on and said, this is an Alice lockdown. So he was really clear, and everybody responded because they've been trained in Alice protocols. I don't know when they last rehearsed it, but they were prepared to respond.
Do you give active scenarios? Because we've already done, well, let's say a stranger is coming in the side door and then you stop and the classroom talks about, or do you actually do the drill? Like, I think scenarios help.
We've done a live drill. We did a live drill with staff.
I think it's more.
We've done
scenarios.
tabletops, and I think we have done.
We do with students.
Yeah.
We did students too. Yeah.
Even in the winter, it's easier, just a refresher.
We need to get back to it. COVID, like everything else, it became one more thing. I'm not trying to blame COVID. It's just
You can blame COVID.
we did get away from it. I mean, we went a time period without students in the building, and then the other piece is that we do have students who we just have to reorient to it. So we'll get after it. We'll get a plan this Friday.
Thanks for bringing that up, Heidi. Thanks. Grading and reporting. You guys had a meeting.
So Mary's going to be here at the next meeting, so I think we'll let her cover those two.
Do you want to say anything about Perkles, or do you want to wait till Mary's here next meeting?
I'll wait till Mary's here.
Okay. Wellness.
We have our first meeting of the year on Tuesday, seemingly like every other meeting,
Everything
right?
else.
Everything else. But it's earlier, 3:15 to 4:15, and Lauren has really good response so far from the staff. I think she got 15 yeses. So hopefully we'll get a good group. But if there are any parents, guardians listening that want to attend as well, it's going to be in the CHS Learning Common on Tuesday, 3:15 to 4:15.
Great. Town capital improvement plan.
I'm not met.
Not met.
I
Okay.
think that guy wanted to come tonight. That's why that man was here.
You want to come where?
The capital improvement.
All right. That brings us to old business. We have policy IHB on class sizes.
So just a reminder for the board that we've had a lot of discussion and a lot of tweaks and adjustments and development I think at the last meeting, we agreed to sort of toss it out to the ether to see if anybody in the public had comments or feedback for us, which I don't believe we've heard anything. And so we're at the point, it just needs to be voted on in its current format. Or if there are board members who think that it's off base, I guess we follow the process of I move to change this and second and vote, and we'll just go piece by piece so we have a policy again.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to approve policy IHB.
I second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
We didn't receive any further feedback on kindergarten and grade 1, correct? I have concerns about kindergarten and grade 1. So I struggle with supporting this, although, I think the way that it's drafted is much more clear than the prior policy. So I support the language, the formatting. I have concerns about a particularly grade 1 classes of 21. I'll just say that there. So I struggle with whether or not to support this or not as it is as a whole. I don't know if anyone else feels the same way or if I'm just the lone person on my own little island on this, which is fine, which is sometimes how it should be, right? But I would be remiss if I didn't at least bring up my concern.
Do you want to make a motion to amend?
I thought the original intent. I thought your original intent in bringing this up was to get rid of the confusing chart at the bottom, which I feel like we've done, and that I support that initial intent.
There was at one point a time where we discussed with the original chart meeting somewhere in the middle, whereas if we have 2 classes that hit that exceed number or 3, but not necessarily have to have all 4 hit it before and then another one, because at this point the trigger number for grades 1 to 3 would be 85 technically, right? Because it would be all 4 classes could have 21 without triggering the need of another teacher. It would be that 85th student in that grade that would trigger the hiring for grade 1.
Yeah.
Am I correct with that?
The minute one class goes to 22, which would be 85, it would result in an additional classroom.
It's just the chart's clear.
And that's where I struggle with. I think 85, I think it's too many for 4 classes. And so I would want to see a trigger number that's sooner than that. So I'll make a motion to amend. Well, there's Brian.
Already a motion.
Yeah, there's already a motion pending, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll vote on that motion. All in favor of approving this policy as a first reading, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay. Aye, nay.
Abstain? I haven't decided. I struggle with the 21 as well, especially 4 classes of 21. But the flip side of that is if we go to 20, those are classes of, classes of 20 are fine. But if we lower the not to exceed number, then that means we'll have classes of 16. And we could have classes of 16. And I think that's low.
It's up to you, girl. You got to vote.
I know. I'm going to vote to approve it. So for
410.
1-0.
Yep.
Thank you. So that's the first reading.
At least we got the first race done.
Yeah. All right.
I do want to say thank you for the formatting because I do think it does make it clearer, and I hope it makes it clearer for us as we are making decisions going forward. And I think the discussion was good, so I appreciate.
A lot easier than that chart.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. And it brought to light a lot of the other considerations that can go into making that decision and not just the numbers.
Yep.
So I think that's progress moving forward.
But to be clear with the public, it is the same policy.
It is the same
It's just
policy.
a different way of expressing the same policy.
Yeah.
I think it just makes it clearer for someone stepping in rather than like, wait, do I get to this?
Right.
Right.
I agree.
Okay. Well, thank you. Coronavirus.
Let me switch over for a second. So I'm going to start with the summary just for everybody. The numbers are just continuing to trend upwards. So remember, you read this chart from the bottom up. Although December is at the top, we will be filling that in tomorrow. And the numbers as of last week in November were higher than we've seen them. 110 new cases in Litchfield is a very high number. I don't think we've seen anything half of that, to be honest. So it's until this current recent trend up.
Mike, we don't get breakdowns either of age groups or do we?
So
That's what-
There is a way I can get after a chart that has breakdowns. So what would you be interested in knowing, Brian?
If it's more younger kids getting it right now than adults.
Give me a second. I'll see if I can pull that up and produce it. Because I think it's not in the same spot on the website, but I can go somewhere else and it'll show. I don't know if I
thought
can
the
get.
last time you looked, there wasn't data for under
Yeah.
12.
Yeah.
That's right.
Are you talking about in Litchfield or are you saying statewide?
Litchfield.
Okay.
So let me try to get at that because all those are deeper dives. And I think the under 12 piece.
You don't have to do it right now, man, if you can find it and
Yeah.
send it. I'm just,
It doesn't take long. I just have to click around and
They are
circle around.
reporting that most of the cases, people are getting it outside of school, not in school, and they're bringing it into school. Because kids go home and they don't wear masks and they play soccer and they kiss their parents.
right, but I'm just wondering how many are students and how many are non-students.
But I also think if you look at the school impact piece, you can see, by and large, we were green. But now we're into the reds and the yellows. And, Campbell, for the first time all year, hit a
Yellow.
medium impact. So, it's just not trending in a positive way.
Right.
And I have to say that. I mean, we're working our way through it, but that's the reality of what we're
And
seeing.
there's a lot of colds that are going around that are, that
That's the
cause
killer.
the testing. I mean, we just went through
Yep.
2 rounds of testing.
I'm in the same boat. And I mean, the cold that my son has right now is just awful. Like
nasty,
he's
yeah.
missed a lot of
Sounds
school.
horrible.
Yeah.
But it's not COVID. So
Right.
If we look at Griffin, you can see the attendance rates have been in a medium status, although they're declining a little bit as we get away from the holiday. So I do think some families going into Thanksgiving kept their children home. I think we're up to like 25% in the days right before. I don't think those were illnesses as much as concerns. And so people just exercise that right. And we extended that to people. If you're not comfortable, go ahead and you can do this. That'll be fine. And now we're seeing more students are coming back at this point. If we look at the middle school numbers, they have actually declined down to a low range. So I'll have to fill in the green low here. So they're in a better spot. And then if we look at CHS, you can see that it's been a little bit higher than what they've normally seen. And Principal Lonergan talked about that tonight. So, but the key thing is the staff sick. I think we agreed to change that from sick to out because, if we're looking at the overall impact, there were several teachers out today for legitimate reasons that weren't sick. But that has an impact when you're trying to cover a building and teach classes. Another thing to point out to the board, so I continue to update monthly the vaccine information. I think it's noteworthy that Northern New England, we're doing really well as a region of the country in terms of vaccination rates and booster doses. Our neighbor in Vermont has 72.9% of their population fully vaccinated and 35% nearly have received a booster dose. And that contrasts against New Hampshire, where we've only vaccinated 64.7% and only 5.9% have received a booster. So I just 5.9. If you look at
Well, they're having that mass vax booster thing. When is that?
so there is a booster clinic coming up on December 15th. In
so a
town.
couple weeks away,
We've got
yeah.
several staff members who have signed up for that. It's being promoted in town, and I know that folks are able to bring a
But the
friend or
state is
family.
having a mass
Yeah, on the
vaccination.
11th.
Booster
11th.
And they have that thing at Hudson Middle School today for both towns.
And today, apparently, about 60 students participated in the clinic at Hudson. So that was for ages 5+.
I was here.
And I understand from Principal Grantham, who I think had a little old home day thing.
She did?
was back there. She said that there was a good turnout from Litchfield families.
Good.
So I don't have a number or breakdown of that, but
And that was for the
that was ages 5+
5+,
student
okay.
boosters.
so
So
that's encouraging. to
Yes.
hear.
I just, I know there's some people who are just philosophically opposed to the vaccines, but
Mm-hmm.
everything that we're reading and everything being pushed is the vaccine is important. And now as Omicron comes available or
Mm-hmm.
it becomes the next strain, again, this is a tool that we have available to us. And the lag compared to other northern New England states just worries me because it means we have fewer people with that booster. So.
And the numbers are even less in Litchfield, correct?
Yes.
Live free or die.
Across the,
The Litchfield vaccination rate is 52.4. So as a town, we're 10%, or 10% below the state average. And I don't have the booster number for Litchfield, but this is the reality of what we're dealing with. When we see these outbreaks in the town, to Ms. McDonald's fire station, everybody's going home at nights. And so, it all factors into what we're seeing in our ability to keep the schools open.
one question that I have, and I don't know how easily it is, and perhaps it's simply parents checking in with teachers, but have our staff and teachers and building admin noticed a difference in terms of the number of absences that students are having compared to a lag in learning for this year? Because I feel like without the remote instruction, I know I had a kiddo who was home for the 2 weeks for 10 days and therefore missed a lot of instruction during that time period. Is there a lot of time being spent catching students up? How is that learning happening if there's more repeated absences? I don't know that you can answer that now, but I'm just kind of curious if that's a problem that anyone's noticing across the board in terms of with these high absent rates that we're seeing. Is that having an impact on learning?
So let me ask that question back to our team, the administrative team. So teachers are still expected to utilize the Google Classroom to make assignments available. So it shouldn't be home doing nothing. It should be an opportunity for
It's
work.
definitely not nothing, but I think there's a difference between a work packet and instruction. And so for multiplication of fractions, you can learn that at home, but I'm not a good teacher at that stuff, let me tell you. So, I wonder if there's an impact. That's all.
I would think it would be up to teacher discretion. As a special ed teacher, I'm catching kids up all the time. They can use best for that at the middle school, I'm hoping.
Well, so the middle school does have that targeted time.
Like that would be perfect for catch up.
Absolutely. So hopefully some of
Yeah.
those enhancements are serving that role. The older the student gets at the high school, we would expect the student to self-advocate and say, hey, I'm confused by this. How
It does pile up fast.
it does pile up fast. I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, and just, another word to the teachers too, to make sure they're posting those assignments. I've had a kiddo home for an extended period of time. Not with COVID, but, just illness and having to test out and just not feeling well. So it's just really important that he can log in and check and see if there's any assignment that he needs to complete. So everything helps, every little bit helps. Discussion of updating the reopening plan?
Yeah, so just a couple of points on that. I would like to bring back on December 15th kind of a proposed adjustment to the plan. I think the fact that we now have vaccines available ages 5+ is a game changer. I know that there are some students who have already received a second shot. So then we play 2 weeks out from that. I want to give enough time for families to get it scheduled and get it in the arms. So I kind of have my eye on Martin Luther King weekend, which is mid-January. Originally, I was thinking the new year, but I worry that, if you take today's clinic, when it's shot number 2, and then give it 2 weeks beyond that, I think we're going to be into the new year. So I really think Martin Luther King weekend would be the time that we would have a different masking protocol. And so we're going to work on it as a team and then bring it forward to the board for consideration at that point. and I've checked in with a couple of other superintendents, and we all sort of started off thinking New Year, and then gradually
Yeah.
we're like, well, we have enough momentum, enough
People
people.
are busy. That was the next 3 to 4 weeks.
It's a busy time of year, so
And it's hard to schedule an appointment right now, either a booster or for a kiddo.
yep. And so just, with the clinics that are now available, I think that is kind of the freeing point of saying, okay, now there are some options for families. So I'll be back to the board on it. And I also want you to know that we submitted our reopening plan to the state back on on August 6th. And it got returned to me right before the break. And it said, you need to make the following one adjustment. So I went ahead, took care of it, resubmitted it. And then I got it back with, now you need to make the following adjustments.
Oh my gosh.
I just want you to know, nothing had
Took 2
occurred.
months to get it back.
Nothing had occurred from the
Ridiculous.
beginning of August until the end of November. And now I'm making adjustments. So I'm doing them as quickly as I can.
Yeah,
But
halfway through the school year.
Right.
That's our reopening.
so,
Crazy.
I will stay on top of it. But if you're curious why the plan that's there now says modified on November 23rd.
Oh,
Now there's going to be one that's going to say modified on December whenever I get to it because it came back again. So
Could you send us the updates that you made to the plan?
Were they significant?
Yeah, do we need to reapprove it
So
or?
this plan is the one that was submitted to the state on their LEA template, which was the federal
Oh,
requirement. It's not the COVID
Okay.
Okay.
Kovacs.
COVAX reopening plan that you're familiar with. That was related to it, but this was a separate one. So it's been on our website all along because we have to post it there to be in federal compliance. But
Mhm.
now we need to get that right before we update our plan. So
Okay.
that's what I have on COVID, unless you have anything else for me.
I feel like you don't have to bring that to us until January. That's just my personal opinion. I don't think we're going to be there in December. So I feel like you would have more time to get that together and talk to your admins. I don't know how everybody else feels, but yeah.
Thank you. I just, what I worry about is if we wait till January and then there's public feedback, because it's really important that the public weigh in.
Yeah.
So even if I give you a draft version
Mhm.
and we noodle on it for a bit
Yeah.
and give the public a chance to give us feedback and then we approve it in January, that would be perfectly fine. But I want to push myself to get something to you and especially for the public to provide feedback on, because we're in the middle of a game changer right now with this vaccine, but we're also in the middle of a game changer with Omicron. I mean, the
Yeah,
early studies
I know.
seem, or the early information is not to worry about it,
Mhm.
but that could change next week. And so I think
Yeah.
it's so fluid.
My other concern is that the 12 to 17-year-olds that got their second shot back in June are due for boosters if you're following the 6-month rule in December.
Right.
And as of now, that hasn't been approved for those age groups. And so I do worry a bit about adjusting the plan in January when we will have some waning booster shots. I don't know, or waning antibodies to
Yeah.
the vaccine. So.
FDA submitted approval for ages 15 to 17 to receive a booster.
Yeah.
So my understanding is they're going to hash that out within the next couple of weeks. So it might be available for 15 and up, but
Okay. Yep.
yeah.
It's just another factor
Absolutely.
to consider. It's not
Yeah.
the driving factor, certainly, but it's just something to throw
Yeah.
out there.
But it's going to leave 12, 13, and 14.
But they also got theirs later,
No,
didn't
it's
they?
12 to
Oh, it was
17 were the
12 to
same
17,
time.
you're right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So they'll be in the gap that you're referencing.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
I know. It's like follow the bouncing ball on who
Right,
got what
yeah.
when. And anyway,
Which age group do we need to worry about now?
Yeah.
Okay, nope, not
And
you. We need to worry about you.
For what it's worth, just anecdotally, in my experience with people in the community, the booster seems to really make a difference. Their breakthrough cases, have happened with people that I know well, and
2 teachers on my team who have it, out of the 5 of us, were the only 2 that didn't get their booster shot.
Right.
So that was a
Yeah.
big,
Interesting.
yeah, it was definitely eye-opening.
yeah. So get those boosters
Yeah.
or get vaccinated. All right, that closes that out. Any questions on the manifest?
I didn't see the ESSER fund signature Weren't we supposed to sign something else?
No, Mike has to sign.
Oh, okay.
I'm signing it,
Okay.
but the link is there, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
I saw the link. I didn't.
I was gonna say. And we'll go back to public input. I don't see anybody here in the room.
I will go back to let me rejoin the meeting.
All right, if that is it.
Mike.
Hi, Mike. I will go into non-public session according to RSA 91-A:311 A through C. A, the dismissal, promotion, or compensation of any public employee or the disciplining of such employee or the investigation of any charges against him, unless the employee affected, 1, has a right to a meeting, and 2, requests that the meeting be open, in which case the request shall be granted. B, the hiring of any person as a public employee. C, matters which, if discussed in public, would likely affect adversely the reputation of any person other than a member of the body or agency itself, unless this person requests an open meeting. Roll call vote. Brian?
Aye.
Liz?
Aye.
Tara?
Aye.
Heidi?
Aye.
And I'm an aye. With that, we'll go into non-public.
Oh, yeah.
And hopefully we'll see everybody at GMS on December 7th at 6:30 p.m.
Please, let's get a good showing.
Yes, we want to hear from you.